Okay, welcome back. In this segment I want to talk about the whole treatment process for the meth remediation. Now, a lot of the procedure for doing the remediation from the original phone call to the final sign-off, it's very routine and there's not a lot of secrets in there. The one category where there are some secrets in there is this one, where we're actually, the documentation has been done, the trash out has been done, all that. Now we're ready to actually clean or treat or decontaminate the house. And so this is the one where the R&D has happened on my part, where I've done, the corporate espionage, where I've asked questions and gotten answers, or sometimes it's just trial and error to get to where I am about to get you. So we're going to begin with, basically you're going to have, maybe I'll do the overview first. So we're going to begin with having a pesticide tank that you actually put in the back of your truck. It's going to have a pump on it that pumps to a high pressure or a pressure washer. And from the pressure washer, we're going to go with a, depending on how many feet you need, you probably need 150 feet of pressure hose, where you've got a specialized pressure washer gun, not the kind that comes default with the pressure washer, and I'll tell you about those. And then I'm going to tell you how to, now that you've actually got the pressurized fluid that is brought to you anywhere in the house, we'll go over where to start and where to finish so that you don't end up basically painting yourself in a corner. So, pesticide tank. I like to go with one that is a 25-gallon tank. You can find those fairly commonly. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at places like IFA or Cal Ranch, or some of those places where you've got a farmer that might need a big tank for spraying pesticides. It'd be cool to have maybe a 100-gallon tank if you've got space for that in your truck. I haven't done that. I've gone with the 25s. In some cases, I've actually gone with two 25s, and then I ran them together using valves and hoses to the pump, where it gave me a little bit more flexibility, because a single 25-gallon tank usually doesn't do a house. It's helpful to have 50, so that you don't have to, in the middle of the procedure, stop, go out, and while you're in your wet chemical gear and your face mask and your gloves and all that, have to re-prepare the pesticide tank. So 25 gallons, that one's going to have a 2-gallon per minute pump at minimum. If you go with the lower end pump, it's just not going to provide enough fluid to the pressure washer so that the pressure washer can do what it needs to do. So then you've got the hose to the pressure washer, and I have seen, actually, you've got to have that hose not just be a standard hose. It's got to be a high pressure hose, because otherwise that will blow and that'll cause problems for you. Last thing you need is to be at the beginning or the middle of an operation and then find out that you're blowing water through a hose somewhere. That sucks. It doesn't have to be that great a pressure washer, a few $100s, but you're going to use that to pressurize the water so that you're not just spraying water on the surface, you're actually moving soil as you're doing that. And of course, if you've got a pressure washer and you're moving more liquid, you're also going to get done with the treatment a lot faster. So that's very helpful. One of the things you can do until you get that is you can go with a backpack sprayer, but those can be a pain because they don't move soil, so they're not as effective. And you got to keep pumping them, and you've only got 5 gallons on your back, so you got to keep going back outside to recharge your backpack sprayer. In addition, having that thing on your back is going to make you obese, and then you got this bar on the side that you're pumping with, and it's very difficult for you to turn around and move and get places that you need to, especially if you're in like a hallway or something. It's going to make your diameter huge, and it's just very difficult to do things the right way. Not to mention, of course, that you, with a backpack sprayer and just a 4-foot hose, you're not going to be able to get ducts very easily. Okay, so we've covered the pressure washer. Now, what I have done, because when you go to a place like Home Depot and you buy a pressure washer, you're going to get a gun that comes, it's about that long. It's 30 inches long, give or take. It's got a long barrel on it, and then you're going to put one of those heads on the end that either allows it to go maybe 11, 22, or 45 degrees, or maybe a straight stream. If you have that, what I have done is I've gone to places like House of Hose, and I've actually had them cut off that spray head and give me a shorter one. House of Hose actually has the shorter pressure washer heads, and so basically you have them put on a quick connect so that you can quick connect in this spray head, and now instead of having to deal with 30 inches, basically you're dealing with a pistol instead of a rifle. And as you're moving around inside of a house, it's a lot easier to deal with a pistol type spray gun as opposed to a rifle type. Makes life a lot easier for you. You don't need the distance between you and whatever you're shooting like you might need if you were out spraying the driveway with the standard pressure washer application. Finally, one thing I've learned to do, of course, as you're working inside a home, it can be sometimes difficult to remember what you've hit and what you haven't. You're in this room, you spin. You're in that room, you spin. As you're going through the walls and the ceiling and the floor, and you go to another room, you spin, and pretty soon you start realizing you've spun one time too many and you don't remember where you started and finished. And so an easy way to deal with that is you start the house by going to the room that is the furthest away from your truck and your pressure washer. So that the idea again is that you don't want to paint yourself into a corner. So you're going to start in a room. And again, you want to spray the ceiling last so that you're not spraying this and then getting dripped on while you're doing the walls and floor. So what I will do is I'll start in the far corner of the room, the one that's furthest away as measured by my hose, and start there. I'll do the floor, and then with the floor done, I'll work my way to the door. Now that I'm to the door, now I'm working on the walls. So I'm going to start at the door. I'm going to move around the room doing the walls. And if you want to be careful as you're doing this, because if you hit a live electrical plug, you'll start a fire. So the options there are to cover the electrical plug and just turn it off, or so that you can't get chemicals in there, or you can turn all the power off to the house. But just be aware, if you spray that power plug, it's going to spark, it's going to burn, and you're going to look bad, and it's going to panic, and you're going to be like, okay, here I am in a chem suit, and I'm about to start burning this house down. And that's not a good place for you to be. Nobody wants to be there. So in one of the cases where I did that, I moved quickly to the breaker box and I turned the power off, and with that done, the fire ended. But nobody wants to do that twice, and you don't want to do it once. So gain that wisdom from me. Okay, so we're back to spraying the wall. Now you're moving around the wall. Of course, you got to go through. You got to get inside closets and stuff. You got to make sure that that closet is done. Then you move back and you hit the door again. Once you hit the door, you know that you're done, because you know that you started at the door. And that's how you can not have to remember where you started at. With that done, now again, you're going to move to the far corner of the room again, and you're going to just spray that ceiling back and forth and just back up, and you can do the whole room that way. And again, because you're looking up and forward, you want to make sure that there's nothing in the room that's going to trip you. Falling is not only just you look stupid sort of a thing, but if you're falling in a chem suit with chemicals all around, life could start to suck a lot more. So just make sure the room is clear. If it's not clear, you better be remembering where stuff is, because that's just not a scenario you want to go down either. So you're spraying the room and you're getting that covered, and you back out of the door. And now you know that room is done, and then you can go to the next room that is the furthest away from your truck, as measured by the hose, and you start there and you just keep going. You want to make sure as you're going through the room that you're hitting the, maybe you've got the heat vents on the floor. You want to hit that thing as you're moving past it on the floor at least once, maybe twice, and then as basically what I'm telling you is hit the heat vents and cold air returns 3 times as hard as you do everything else, because that's what's going to trip you up. Okay, so that is what the treatment procedure looks like. The only remaining secret is what to use, what chemical to use, and I've got a whole different segment on that, because that's the center of the center in what a meth remediation is. We'll be right back.